Hello, I'm your host, Giselle Gamby, and this is the Intuitive Pull Podcast, where together we'll embrace the plans we did not make yet, unfold businesses and lives that are so much greater in wealth in all ways than any business or life plan could ever achieve. My wish is that you make intuition your most trusted advisor. So, buckle up, get present, and let's go. Hello, Team Intuitive Pull podcast community. Welcome to another episode. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know, for the people who are listening to this for the first time, and for people who have heard about this already, I want to remind you about a new 9-week online group meditation program that I received whilst I was going for a walk 2 Sundays ago, where all my worlds collided. And I received the answer to a question that I'd been holding for at least 6 months. How can I be of service to more people, to more and more people? Well, I might as well go straight to the source of the backbone of all the most significant transformations I've experienced in my life. And that is meditation in all of its forms. And when I talk about all of its forms, I mean closed eye meditation, listening to guided meditations, going for walks, going for runs, listening to beautiful music, writing, drawing, painting, having a shower, even vacuum cleaning. Whatever that activity is that opens your mind up into the vast consciousness that is possible. And so this 9-week online group program will commence on the 30th of January. And for 9 weeks, what I'll do is I will create a specifically curated meditation that I'm going to ask participants of that program to listen to at least 5 times that week, and to up their meds, different meds, to up their meditations, to up their activity that has them open up their mind to that vast consciousness. What we'll also do is every fortnight we'll jump on a group call on Zoom. And the intention behind these group calls is quite simply magic. I know that some pretty spectacular things will occur by sharing what we've been receiving in our meditations, by sharing what we've been implementing, and by hearing other people's stories. There will be such synergy. I just know that. And I also know that there will be collaboration that will occur. So we'll be in a sacred network, we'll be in a community of truth, and we'll all be dedicated to listening to our intuition and to implementing that over these 9 weeks. It's a container. It's a container for you to really see that authenticity is profitable in many ways. Details are in the show notes. Please check out this program if you're pulled. If you're an avid listener of this podcast, I can't urge you enough to check that program out. It is so in alignment with the messages and the experience and the tone and the intentionality of this podcast. And it's a more direct experience, and it's a more directly supported experience by me. High value, and it's accessible. It really is. So please check that out. There's an early bird rate that is available for people who commit before the 31st of December. And there's also a referral fee where I will refund you 25% of your fee for every successful referral. I'm a really amazing referrer. I love to refer people I love to people I love. And so I'm bringing this here. If you love this podcast, if you would love to experience that 9-week meditation program with people you love, you could actually pay nothing should you take advantage of the early bird fee and enroll 4 people. You'd pay nothing. So check it out. It's in the show notes. Make sure you do that and enroll before the 31st of December so you can take advantage of that early bird fee. Having said that, let's get into this episode. This episode has been in the making for actually really since the moment that I left Croatia in September. I met this beautiful man, Troy Methorst. I met him because he was a client and is now a partner with my beautiful co-facilitator, Shari L, who facilitated with me in Croatia. I met him and his beautiful wife, Beck, in Europe. And I was so taken by this gentle giant that I had a feeling that I wanted to interview him. And so that happened last week. It was a very, very deep interview. And it's taken me until now to get my teeth into it and to edit an almost 2-hour conversation into something that is perfect for this podcast. So Troy Methorst was a search team commander as part of the Australian Army, and he was that in Afghanistan. His role was to help plan mission on the ground to get his guys in and out safely. And he led his team of engineers to search high-risk areas for IEDs and to search for enemy cached weapons. He's also, since leaving the army, he's also one of the 3 co-founders of this incredible organization called Veteran Mentors. It's a youth development program where they focus on building courage, resilience, respect for teenagers, using the military structure as the foundation and teaching life lessons to kids around vulnerability and choice. They've taken about over 2,000 kids through this program, and I know that this program changes these children and these family lives. He joined the Army at 18 years old and he left in 2012, and he started Veteran Mentors in September 2017. I'm calling this episode The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Enjoy. So the interview begins with Troy asking me if he can show me about a 20-minute video, a montage of his time in Afghanistan, so that I could get a real feel for what life was like for him over there. And so we were watching it together. And as we were going through, I thought, actually, we're already in the interview because we're already talking. So I pressed record. The audio is not fantastic in the beginning of this episode because it is the audio of this montage. So you're not going to see the visuals, unfortunately, as to what I saw, but you're going to get a feel of the environment that Troy was in, and you're going to touch into his story there. And then when that completes, we continue on, and the sound is fantastic. So let's go.
So that's where, geez, I'm a bit choked up. This is where we lived, in the pirate ship, we called it. That's a better photo of it. There's about 30 of us living down in the back in the depths of that. I'll pause it here for a sec. When I'm saying engineers, like I'm actually, can you see my mouse or not?
Yeah, I can see your mouse.
So like I'm that guy. That's actually me. And so I had a team of 4, including myself. And so our role was to, and you can see everyone's walking directly behind us because our front 2 guys have metal detectors. So they're checking the ground for bombs and things. So yeah, everyone just followed us pretty much. So we always plan the missions and choose the most least likely places to get blown up. But we also needed to check on the ground. So that was kind of our role.
Do you normally get choked up?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a graveyard actually. So they used to hide things in graveyards. So it was kind of a bit awkward and uncomfortable. So when you had vehicles, we used to walk down the roads of the vehicle tracks. The best way not to get blown up was to choose random paths. Constantly changing, never doing the same thing twice. If there were locals around, it's generally pretty safe because the locals know where the bombs are. They never would tell you, but it's constantly like trying not to fall over. Everything's rocky. Yeah, that's me in the middle with a guy on the left, on my left arm was Sergeant Crib, which is important for this little moment in time. On the right of the screen there is a school, and from this photo was taken in the morning. So overnight, the bad guys put the flag in. So this is our base, and that's like 200 or 300 meters away from our base. So they're essentially pointing the finger at us saying, "Oh, you were asleep." Yeah, so what we did, we went down to, there's a chief there, local chief. So what we did is, because it's so close to our base, and so from our base, there's kind of a line in the sand, which is kind of that depression in the ground there. If you walk across that, that's kind of, you're probably going to get shot. So there's a village to the right of the screen where we went to speak to the local chief, and we said, "Hey, what's the flag doing here?" And a long story, it took forever. And we're just looking at this flag and we're talking amongst ourselves jokingly, saying, "Oh, I'm going to pull the flag first. I'm going to get the flag first." Inside of me, like my intuition is like, I was a bit cocky, but I was like, there's something up. Because this is like maybe 2 months into our deployment. So they've all been pretty safe so far. Not much had happened. We were just doing some basic patrols. But yeah, I'll let the video play out and talk. So essentially, the chief said, "You're going to have to shoot me. I'm not pulling the flag down." And that started to ring alarm bells to me. He's like, I'm like, "What do you mean the chief's not going to pull the flag down? It's just a flag. Go pull the fucking thing down." And he's like, "Nah, you may as well shoot me because of that in there. And if I pull it down, they're going to shoot me anyway." So he's like, "Kill me now." Essentially, I'm like, "All right, there's something going on with that." So what our drills were to do for this is a known target. It's something suspicious. So what we did was to walk around it in a circle and slowly spiral in. You're looking for wires and different devices and things. And I knew they were likely to probably shoot us from the hill. So I put myself in between. I was carrying a electronic countermeasure, which jams all these frequencies and things for people. Imagine like your roller door, garage door, or a remote like that. Sometimes I'd have bombs that would go off like that. So we'd have a jammer thing. So I positioned myself in between the device and where I thought the likely spot would be for them. Anyway, it was taking time. I had I had one engineer who was Australian and one engineer who was Afghani, and I was pretty confident with them both. And as we're doing this, that sergeant who I had my arm around before came up to me and started speaking Afghani, essentially telling me to hurry up and pick the flag up. And I was like, "Nah, just relax." I'm telling this, like I was 26 or something like that years old, and this guy was like 40. These guys have been fighting the Russians and everything for so long, and so I'm like a fresh young face telling this guy what to do. He wasn't having a bar of it. So he went over and decided to pick the flag up. So yeah, we're at the moment, you can probably see there's a couple of Australians down the back there. I'm like in the middle there. Wow. Yeah. So the dude, all I remember is just this cloud of dust going poof. Like last thing I said to the guy was like, "Stop, stop, stop, stop." And he didn't, and yeah, so he got launched into the air, landed, and I'm all of a sudden going like, "Oh fuck, the floor's lava. There's going to be other devices on the ground." I'm freaking out, and I couldn't see anything. All I could see was dust. And eventually the dust cleared, and I was screaming at my other guy, Alex. I'm like, "Fuck, Alex. And there was nothing. I was like, "Fuck, Alex is probably dead or something as well," because he was really close. I was, 5-10 meters away. Alex was 3 or 4 meters away, and the Afghan guy was even closer. So it's like this device has just launched these other guys away. And eventually Alex goes, "Oh, Metho." I was like, oh, fuck, thank fuck he's alive. He goes, what happened? I'm like, oh, dude, just come back to me. And I was, telling him to do all these things. He's like, oh, do I go over to the old mate? I'm like, nah, man, he's dead. I could see, like, his just face was missing. And like, he's just, there's no chance. His body was launched. He doesn't have a face anymore. Like, his whole, it was the mortars. There was mortars attached to this thing anyway. So yeah, that was kind of sketchy for us. And yeah, it was kind of our first like realization of how like just like that, just life's over for that guy. This particular one was where I just had a really strong intuitive sense. Just no other reason apart from I just went, there's something over there. And we sat there for a little bit, and the patrol was doing something else, and they didn't want us. I was having a disagreement with these people, and so we were just sitting under a tree. And I said, "Oh, guys, I reckon there's something underneath that over there." They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah. Honestly, there's something telling me that there's over there. Let's go check it out." And we found all this stuff. Like, it was so cool. I was just like, radios that had GPSs with. It was like a biggest, really cool haul just from just sitting there and trusting the intuition, like high quality stuff. I was like, fuck yeah. And it was also double fuck yeah because someone else was telling me to do this other job and I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. Like, you gotta, trust me. And they went and did their thing, didn't find anything, and then I was back here kind of laughing. I'm like, I told you, trust me.
Wow. And how did it work for you? Because I remember when we were in Croatia, you were telling me that your intuition actually saved a lot of lives. Like, how did it work for you when you felt there was something here? Like, how does it work for you? Is it a feeling? Is it
just I know that's like gut feeling, but it was like just this like strong feeling in my belly mostly. If it was something like unsafe, it was mostly around my belly. It was like, oh, something's coming up.
Wow. Were you ever challenged by your superiors for decisions?
Not so much the people on the patrol, but it was when I moved to because eventually we were attached to a combat team. Combat team is a conglomerate of different roles of different people. But eventually we got moved because we're getting for whatever reason we were moved, and it was when I was moved to other positions that I didn't have the relationships built up, and I was pretty confident in what I was doing, and they were asking me to do something, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And because I had 2 stripes, I was a corporal, and these people were like senior soldiers, like they were they were warrant officers and sergeants. In the hierarchy scheme of things, I was meant to do as I was told. But I was like, fuck you. Like, there's big things in here than your fucking ego. Like, I'm trying to keep it alive and do what I say. I was a subject matter expert, so I did have that to fall upon, and it rubbed people the wrong way at times. And I had a pretty short fuse, to be honest. I didn't take their shit. So this is another one of those intuitive moments, I guess. What happened is that we were patrolling through this town, Derapet, and there's things called combat indicators where something's going to happen. You can see it. So as we're walking to the town, through this town, Derapet, we saw all these women and children leaving, like ants, just leaving the town. So you're like, oh, something's going on. And all of who's left are people who want to fight. If they think they can beat us, then they'd come into this sort of, engagement, which is what happened here. We were patrolling through the town. We saw all the people leaving. And all of a sudden, as we're walking through the town, they fired a couple of shots over the top of our heads. And we're like, oh, it's on. This is probably our second, big, they call it contact. And so we've moved forward. It's kind of like first aid in a sense. And, DRS, danger response, airway breathing circulation. With us in the Army, it's like danger. As the shot rings out, naturally you'd probably want to run away. But with the training kicks in and you run towards it, you've got to remove the danger. And that's by eliminating the enemy. So yeah, we all started running towards this thing. I actually remember running. So I was so excited. Like I don't know. It's like, it's happening. And I was just running up on the open. And one of the snipers that was with us like, hey, Metho, you're a really big target, man, up there. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. And so then I ran back down, and the best way to move through this situation was up this aqueduct because it provided us some concealment, like they couldn't quite see us, but also cover. Like cover is where you're protected from bullets and things coming inwards. And so we're moving stealthily towards where the gunshots came from. we couldn't quite see them. They were over in the trees over the other side. And I was behind, I wasn't completely attached to my team. Like I was separated for them. So I was trying to catch up with them. I was talking with commanders, and my other guys kept moving forward as they were meant to do. And for this particular patrol, we had a person that probably wasn't meant to be there. He was more of a high-ranking officer. And he's saying to the people now to shoot where they think they are. And you'll see what happens when we start shooting. Because that's me there with that thing on my back. That's the antenna. So my guys are further up at the moment. And so he's telling me to stop, and I'm like, nah, I'm just going to go. So when we start shooting, it's really noisy. It's so loud. And then the dust also. So in this patrol, there's probably about 10 Australians and about 15 Afghan National Army soldiers. And all of a sudden, we're shooting where we think they are. And what's happened here, though, is at the end of this aqueduct, there was a block in the wall. Like you couldn't keep going up that way. We had to go up and around. So as we're going up and around, we couldn't go over the hill because it was too high up that way. We had to go down this path. But down the path, we were getting radio communications. We could intercept their radio saying they're about to walk into our trap. They had placed an IED just up in the hole, just up here. And so when I got to my guys, they're kneeling at the end of the thing there. Okay. So they were kneeling at the end of this wall. And further up there, just around the corner, there's another building, which we were trying to get to. But there was what I suspected was an IED in the ground just here. Like there's only one way to go, and we had to go through that spot.
Right.
And I was like, fuck, okay. And I said to my guys, because they had the equipment, I'm like, guys, you got to go check that. And they're like, no, fuck that. Because over the other side, there was like machine gunners and stuff. It's really exposed position. It was a perfect spot for an IED because they have drawings towards this spot. Good chance that's going to be covered by enemy machine gun fire, which it was. And so I'm getting the orders on my radio to keep moving forward, like hurry up, keep moving forward. And so I said to my guys, fucking go check it out. And they said, no way. And like I'm getting this hurry the fuck up method. I'm like, fuck, okay. And I went, I'm going to have to do it. So I casually walked towards this device, thinking that I'm invincible or something. I'm just like in a drill, casually walking. And next minute, there's these whizzes, like these bees around my head. And I'm like, fuck, because it was, and then dust is kicking up around. And I was like, fuck, I think they can see me. So then I went to a knee and I was crawling forward. And eventually the fire, incoming rounds was so intense that I was crawling. And I started crawling towards the device. And then as I got out there, I realized I didn't bring all the equipment with me to deal with it properly. So I was in a really shit spot. And Mark, my other guy here, was looking over my shoulder, leaning out from the building, shooting at me. I'm getting shot from machine guns from the side. And I was in a whole lot of hurt, actually. I really put myself too far out beyond my means and skills and capability. Like, I was fucked in layman terms. And it was a moment there where I realized how much of a shit decision I've just made.
Mm.
And all of a sudden it just rained hell on me. It's like there's dust and things kicking over, and I rolled into the corner of the wall, and I just sort of lied there for a moment thinking, fuck, I'm dead. Like it was an instant, like my whole belief around me being invincible was just shattered. And like I'm just dead. Like this I was just waiting for the thing just to end me. And then I realized there was a point there where I realized that if I die here, then my guys are going to have to come drag my fat ass out. But they're not going to leave me. And I'm like, fuck, I've got to make it as easy as possible for them to get me out, to get my body out. So I started crawling backwards. And as I was crawling backwards, every crawl backwards, I just kept shooting towards where the guy was in the building to try and keep him from killing me. I just kept crawling backwards. And eventually someone said, get up and run. And I just pushed myself up and sprinted as fast as I could. And anyway, yeah, this is what sort of fucking shocked. And eventually I did, as I was crawling backwards, I looked back to see, how much further I've got to go. And as I looked back, all I saw was the guys running away or, withdrawing. And I went, fuck. fuck, like they've left me. I was just, fuck. Yeah, that was the moment. I was like, God damn it. I've got to get all that way back. And like, it was a complete thing of alone. I was just completely alone. So I was shot across the knuckle actually, and I was just bleeding at my hands. And that's why the guys are going, Metho, you right? And this was the most exhausted I've ever been in my entire life. I was just like, the mud in the aqueduct, just sucking your feet down. It's called a fighting withdrawal, tunnel of love. Like one person keeps slipping out. And so eventually we made it back to this building, and I was like, oh, sweet, it's finished. And not realizing that we still had to get back to our base.
And they followed you?
Yeah, they followed us. Like,
oh my God.
So this guy was watching. So we just threw some grenades down to slow him up. So before when we got back to the base, I remember just lying, just collapsing on the floor, just lying. And I had all my kit on. I just lied completely flat on the back. And I was just staring at the roof. I don't even know how long. And eventually one of the snipers that was with us come up and he goes, oh, Metho, you remember them cartoons back in the day? And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? He's like, where they, where there was a dead body and they just used to draw the outline. He goes, that was you. He goes, how the fuck are you alive? And I just went, I don't know, man. I don't know. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, the next day we went back out on patrol, and it was like every single morning, every time I used to go on patrol, as soon as we have to step off, I'd be so scared. I'd literally have to go to the toilet. My bowels would evacuate just every single time. I could just do anything to get myself ready. But as soon as we had to step out, I'd always take an extra couple of minutes. Everyone's like, fuck, Metho. I'm like, I was hiding it, but I was so scared in the end. One thing that I really loved was when we were around and we saw the kids. That was kind of the coolest part. We're seeing all these. They're saying, Salam alaikum. And, I wouldn't speak their language very well, but I could speak dance. So I gave them the sprinkler move. And I think I did the shopping trolley too.
The shopping trolley? I don't know that one. You're going to show me in a minute.
They're not even looking. They've given up.
So I want to ask you, when you said after that time where you thought you were done, and then every morning when you had to go out there, you literally shit yourself with fear. What did you do then? Like, what did you do with that fear? What did you do with that fear? Did you move? Did it dissipate at some point, or
no?
What happened?
No, never. The only, like, if it was just me, then I would have fucking no way I would have left the base. But every single time I look at the other faces around, and I knew that we were a team, and we were looking after each other. We're all scared in some way, whether the guys said it or not. But they were. But it was just the camaraderie that we had. Was like, we're not going to leave everyone behind. Like, we were doing it for each other. It wasn't for some. For me, I'm speaking for me. It was really was about looking after the mates around me. Like, I had confidence in my abilities, in my intuition as well. Not that I called it that then, but yeah, I had confidence in myself, and I trusted my team, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else apart from with them. So if I chose to not go on a patrol, then I wouldn't live with myself. I wouldn't. It wouldn't be possible. It just doesn't comprehend. Yeah, it's just totally for my mates, totally.
And yet they left you, right? When you said you looked and they were running away from you, and they left you there.
Well, that was my interpretation of it at the moment. They didn't leave me there. They'll in the moment, I was like, you fucks, like you've left me. But
Yeah.
the reality was they were ordered to withdraw, and they were just moving up to the next moment in time.
Right.
But as soon as I looked, that's what I saw, and that's
right.
what it said to me. Yeah.
Do you like, I feel like this is a rhetorical question, right? I feel like it's even stupid asking it as a question, but I'll ask it as a question. That moment, how did that shape your life? How did that moment shape your life?
Well, at the time, I thought I thought it was solely that moment in time that was, the event that caused post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever. Coming home, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Every time I go to sleep, I'd have, even think about it now. I just have these dreams where I'm powerless. I couldn't do anything. And then I'd wake up screaming or whatever, sweaty. So I couldn't sleep. So I turned to the things around that would get me past that, drugs and alcohol, namely. If I was really drunk, then I wouldn't have these dreams. And it was all around powerlessness and feeling alone. Like I see it now as from a different level. Yeah, I did some work around, healing that moment in time, but that sort of energy is being kind of like one of my life lessons, in the sense is like believing that I'm separate to God or something else. But in that moment, I said, like I was saying, fucking God left me. Like I was abandoned. But like, how could I abandon myself? I was with myself. So I'm like, the big lesson for me is around that. So it's kind of like that I've had that lesson played out to me in little sections before in my life, but that was a key moment where it really sort of struck that chord solidly to show me to heal some of those aspects around that.
Gosh, I never would have expected you to give me that answer. It's really quite beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to sort of get to that point. I didn't want to say that I was hurting or not coping, especially. I left as I was saying before, I left the army in 2012. I had my discharge. I put my discharge paperwork in while I was in Afghanistan, and just because I didn't want to be, I was sick of being told by these other people like how to. Like, I trusted myself so much, so I got sick of being told how to be, and I didn't want to be part of that anymore. And I was hurting from all these events, and I was like, I'm out. I've had enough. I'm just moving. I'm getting out. And I didn't really look after myself from coming home from Afghanistan. I was straight into party mode and like blocking all of it out. And, then I was completely separated. And I separated myself again. Like I left the army, then I was like, I'm alone again. And so that message kept playing out and playing out and playing out until I chose to sort of do some healing around it.
And what do you see now? Like, what's the contrast of that story of I'm alone? What do you know?
Like how, I just see life and connectedness and sort of like it's God's within me as much as within anyone. It's in all of us. And so I sort of see. I just see so much more peace and joy and love now. The polar opposite to what I was there was like separateness. Like I don't know if there could be any more separateness between there's us and them, and they're the bad guys. Anyone around that, they're completely bad and they're wrong or whatever. But like I see with that, they're just doing them. I really saw a bit of a shake up internally for me to see the truth, I suppose, not that separateness.
And when you talk about God, because, it's good to define what you mean by God, because I know that I use the God word a lot in this podcast, and I have people actually appreciate when I define what I mean by that. So I say, for me, and I'm not saying this is for you, but for me, I say, I'm not religious. Like, I'm not saying God from a religious point of view. I'm saying God from a universal mind / love, spiritual sense, that there's an intelligence that's loving, that is everywhere in everything, including us. How do you define it?
That's pretty much awesome. That's how I would have said it too. It's just everything is just like light and love. And it's not like Yeah, it's not like there's someone completely separate to us, like an almighty person above us.
Yeah.
Like that's
With a
that's
grey beard in the sky.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's not, and there's like not a hell. It's all light and love. It's just here for
Yeah.
us to, experience and learn and evolve, and it's in us. It's inside of us.
So do you know, so speaking of, because when we talk about this type of way of seeing in the world, or seeing the world, I should say, I often talk about, we have a soul contract, like our soul has inhabited this body, this personality, this life, these relationships, these circumstances, in order to have a particular experience the soul has wanted to have. You chose, my God, your soul chose a bloody big life to be in Afghanistan to experience what you've experienced. Do you know what, in the bigger picture, your soul chose if Afghanistan to experience, to come to know, to come to remember?
Yeah, I have contemplated this, and it's like and I'm not saying this from an ego-y sort of thing. It's like in a sense, like my soul chose to take on that pain and that suffering, to experience it. Like that moment in Afghanistan, I was saved. Like angels or whatever around me, knowing that there's a bigger picture for me. And to die in that moment was not my plan. There was kind of divine intervention of knowing for me to live. And yeah, so it was for me to be able to experience that, because I had the strength to be able to handle it, and so I could help others.
So talk to me about that. So I really am sensing what you're saying about, it wasn't your time to die, that you were absolutely looked after, because you had other work to do. You had other work to do. So what is that?
It's I don't know precisely what it is, but I know it's around bringing joy and love to people, and playing and finding their inner joy again. When I came back from Afghanistan, I had lost that. Like it was inside of me, of course, but I just couldn't see it, and I was finding it in all the wrong, not the wrong places, in the places that weren't in alignment with my divine plan, like my truth, or for me, who as I am, and in relationship with others, especially in myself and with others. So you know going through and releasing some of the pain and suffering from those experiences allowed me to be able to be with others who are in places like that, as well, and to be able to hold compassion for myself, number one, and holding compassion for myself, I'm able to be with others as well. And it's my hope, my dream is to build this playground for others to come and find themselves as well. And I'm not sure what exactly that looks like, but I know it's got something to do with sounds. It's got something to do with movement, and I don't know, it's just fully alive.
Yeah. So I want to go to what's currently here, if that's okay, because I know compassion's a big thing for you, and I also know that forgiveness is a big thing for you, because what happened before we got on this Zoom call was a memory popped up on Facebook, and it was a memory of you as a soldier in Afghanistan, and it brought some emotion up for you. And I said to you, so this was before the recording, I said, what's that emotion? And can I hand it over to you?
Yeah, I'm just crying a bit now, actually, and yeah, it's sadness is kind of here with me at the moment, and there's someone. It's like honoring. There's two friends of mine who didn't come back from Afghanistan. I blamed myself and I blamed others, for one in particular, Richard Atkinson. My team was swapped out from where we were, and too much to my resistance, I fought and fought and fought to have this decision overturned, but it wasn't to be. And within 2 weeks of swapping out, the act was blown up. The spot where I should have been, to my knowledge, and it ate me up so much. I see it now. He gifted his life for me. Every Anzac Day, I didn't want to be associated with the army or the military. I wanted nothing to do with them at all. I still kind of get like a bit irked by it, but every Anzac Day I put my medals on in honor of them, for them. And I was sort of remembering now, it's like a really strong remembering of like, fucking stick to your purpose. That's what it's calling me to do. Like, keep finding that joy. And that's what 100% what they, I used to think they'd want me to get fucked up. Like, I'm just going to go get high on drugs, or because that's what we used to do. That's what they want me to do. But I was missing the point. The point was that they wanted me to joy. That's what I was fucking the signal up. I was interpreting it through my own stories, and I can feel them here now, just like cheering, going, yeah. That's what it is. It's just love. It's like, that's what you got to find. I'm hearing them now saying, bro, this is what you're doing. Find the joy, find the love. So the forgiveness, and yeah, that was a big one. Like, I was blaming other people for Aka's death, and I blamed so much that I had lost so much power for myself, and no one cared. Blah blah blah. All these stories going on. I remember walking down the street here in the Gold Coast, and gentle lady, bumped me, and I fucking went to push her to the ground and murder her. I was like, what the fuck have I become? Just constantly looking for fights. Anyone, any opportunity, I was ready to kill. Just so much anger and hate and rage. Yeah, just got so much that I just, I found my own death. Like, I couldn't, it's like, well, who am I? Like, it was so far off who I was. So it's what I felt like. And just by chance, a friend called up and said, what are you doing, you dickhead, type of thing. I don't know how he knew. He had intuition, I suppose, as well. And he said, I need you. With all us fails, like, I need you. Like, I felt like I was a failure of a human being. Here I was in Afghanistan leading big missions and doing all this planning and keeping people alive, and I come back and try for a leadership position at a fucking sports center. You don't have any qualifications. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. Right. And I was just like, well, who am I? Like, I can't even do that. Like, I had nothing. I was on the bones of my ass. So I didn't have any support. So I was like, yeah, I was out, tapping out of life. Total opposite of the joy and the love. But I was at the point where my friend called and said, you need to get help. And that's where the story of forgiveness steps into. And
how did that start? With whom?
With a psychiatrist, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah. I used to think they're just throwing medications at me. I don't want to take these fucking medications, blah, blah, blah. But this guy would actually, I went up to him and I said, I don't want to fucking take your medication anymore. It's not working for me. I don't feel right in me.
Yeah.
He goes, well, if you really want to do some work, like, have you ever thought about who was making the decision? Who made that decision to, that went to Aka's death? And I was like, why the fuck would I want to think like them? They're fuckwits. Complete opposite. There was a position above me, a sergeant's position. And I was like, I don't want to be them. I wouldn't, no way. And he's like, mate, if you really want to work this out, put yourself in his shoes. What would you have done? And so I sat in this chair. This is like 2014 or something like that, right? 2015. 3 years later, carrying all this hate, so much hatred, like a backpack of hate, so heavy on my shoulders. And I sat in this chair, because I was completely. This guy to me was worse than the Taliban. That's how much hatred I had for him at the time. And I could not figure out any other way apart from what he would have done. I would have done exactly the same thing. I would have given the exact same order, and I just went, fuck me. I sat in my chair and just cried. All this time, I've hated him, planned his death. And I would have done exactly the same thing. I just went, it just derailed me completely. I was just in a good way, like just boom, and it hit me so hard in my heart. Oh, I can't believe I've done that. A friend, he was a friend of mine before I left. We're friends now too. I should ask. And he goes, the psychiatrist goes, there you go. And I'm like, all right, well, thanks. I'm thinking that's finished. He goes, if you really want to heal this, you got to call him up and apologize. And I was like, you're fucking kidding me. Wow. I haven't spoken to him in years. There's no way it could be possible. Anyway, I was living at Currumbin at the time, Palm Beach, Currumbin, somewhere, Gold Coast. And I straight away went to my car after this appointment. I was shaking in the car, like I used to do. And I just called him up, out of the blue, and he answered within like 2 rings. And I was like, hey man. He's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, it's probably, you know what, you're probably busy or whatever. He goes, no, what's up? And I'm like, oh, do you mind if we meet up and have a conversation or something like that? I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm on the Gold Coast now anyway. There's no way I'll be able to see you. He goes, really, you're on Gold Coast? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I live here now too. And I was like, really? Like where? And he said he lived at Eleanor, which is the next suburb across from where I was living. And I was like, fucking get fucked. I'm like, how long have you been here? And he goes, a couple of years. And I was like, oh, all this time thinking when I left, I was in Darwin. I thought he was still there. But somehow we were both on the Gold Coast, and we teared up a time, and I went to his house and met his wife, who told me before I left to look after him. And she was really thankful that I came around the house, and she said he's been drinking beers out the front pretty much every night since he's come back, and he doesn't sleep very well and all this stuff. She's like, I've lost him. And she's kind of thankful that I was there. And I was kind of a bit torn inside, because I was like, this is the guy that caused me, still a bit victim-y in my head, like he's caused me all this pain, but I also didn't want to keep doing that. The pain was too much for not wanting to have it anymore. So, here I was. We went out and he lived on the creek, and we paddled up to the Talabudget River and found this sandy spot. A key moment was last we kind of had an altercation in Afghanistan, and it wasn't a nice one. I was about to fucking punch him, and I was just, anyway, that was kind of our last memories, that we were about to come to blows. And so we're sitting with our paddles on this bit of the creek, and I could see him kind of like getting ready for a potential fight or something. And I was like, mate, just relax. And I said, look, I'll get to the point. I said, it's not your fault Akka died. I blamed you for that, for sure. But I know now that I would have done exactly the fucking same thing. And that his death was a choice for his. He made that choice. And, I wish we could have been somewhere different, but it was not. This is the way it is. We can't change it. And I just want you to know that I'm so, so sorry for making your life hell, because I went out of my way to make your life miserable. And I'm so sorry. And he said, you don't ever think I don't blame myself? And I'm like, no, to be honest, I totally didn't think you would. I thought you were that type of character that you just did not give a fuck. He goes, mate, every time I go to sleep, I see his face. Every time. And I was like, oh, fuck me. I was carrying all this hatred to this guy, thinking he's had this total opposite image. I just thought he did not care at all. And he totally did. And yeah, I just started crying, kind of like I am now. And we hugged it out. we went from hatred to the love. We hugged it out, and it's from that point. Just like the reason I share that is, there was a moment, whatever long it was before that, where I was about to end my life, and the ripple effects of that, what that would have had to having the choice to step up and forgive, and from that chance of forgiveness, like I met so many different people along the journey, and then the breadcrumbs of joy led the way, and eventually we started Veteran Mentors and that. And we've helped nearly 2,000 kids now, and 2,000 families, and that sort of thing. So that ripple effect's gone doing its thing.
So can you just explain Veteran Mentors, and then I want to speak to that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've kind of just dropped it in there.
I was hoping that you're going to go there, so thank you.
Well, so one of the things I loved in Afghanistan was mentoring the Afghan National Army people. I love doing it. I don't know, I just find it really fun. Trying to break the language barrier. When I came back to Australia, I got some casual work doing outdoor education at a sports centre. And I really loved working with the kids. It was so fun. They're just all fun. They're just mucking around, playing. And it was, I could see that there was like something missing between what the outdoor education was offering and the military life. There was something in between that could be so cool. I tried to start it there. It didn't quite work. Wasn't quite right. Yeah, eventually I volunteered at other places doing some similar things, army cadets and whatever, and I could see that they were onto something, but it wasn't quite right. There's too much political correctness going on with it, too much red tape and crap. They were missing the point of life. And so, yeah, I met a couple of guys, and through meeting these guys, Matthew French, Glenn Filtness, and Ricky Darren Smith at the start, there's four of us. We all just gelled so well, and we all had a little bit to play in this puzzle of Veteran Mentors. And we decided, like, hey, we know what we're doing with kids. We can run a structure for 9 days. We'll put all these life lessons that we've learned along the way, and really help these kids out. So it was kind of based from our experiences, from Army basic training to life. And we structured the program in a sort of gradual way that that at the end of it, there's skydiving and doing 100-meter abseils and stuff. But we've got to start with the basics, like making their bed and moving their bodies in a functional way, and all these like holistic healing. Like I do sound healing with the kids. We do fire talks around being vulnerable around the fire, and we founded on the values of courage, resilience, and respect. And really, I like to think of the courage as like our aim is to really kind of add more fuel to the kids' internal fire of their life. Whatever brings them joy and love, it's like, do that. We totally don't want you to join the army, like, unless it's for you. Unless you want to do that, if that's going to bring you joy, go for it. If you want to be arts and crafts extraordinaire, tick, go do that. Don't do what you don't want to do. That's what we're telling them. Like, just follow your path, just like what we've experienced. Like, I joined the army and I didn't like it at all. It took me to go through that to realize that it's not all about getting A's at school and going to university to do something you don't love. Like, why don't you just fast track that and do what you love to start with? The path will open up. So that's kind of what we're teaching to the kids. And it's all courage and conflict resolution and things, talking about emotions and feelings, and part of that is helping with families as well.
Yes, which is where I was going to go, because I've got a feeling these pieces around compassion and forgiveness, like the level of compassion and the level of forgiveness that you went to, that you thought you would never go down that road. You thought you'd never give that guy forgiveness. Like, he was so committed to your story about who he was, and yet what you ended up doing through your own vulnerability and your own courage is that you like reached into the depths of forgiveness and compassion. So I've got a feeling that depth of conviction and compassion lives in the Veteran Mentors experience with the kids and the families. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Like we don't judge the kids that come to us on, their actions that they've done in the past. Like we get it. Like they're just running their own stories in their head, and sometimes they're just scared to speak up about themselves or whatever it is. So, that's part of it. Is the big part that we do well on Veteran Mentors is we lead by example in that regard. Like we never force the kids to do anything at all, but we set the standard. So, day two, one of the leaders, the Veteran Mentors, will share like a powerful story around the fire, and the power is just from their vulnerability, and they're speaking from their emotions, and they're not delving into a big story, but it's like they're speaking real about themselves. About the, some of the struggles that they've experienced. And then so the next day the kids in their own sections, in their small groups, start sharing some of their real struggles and opening up about themselves. And it's in these moments that everyone starts to see that they're so alike. That's the whole point, is that we're trying to remove that separateness and remind everyone that, hey, we're so similar. And it's all about lifting each other up and like helping each other out. And you don't have to be friends with everyone. You don't have to like everyone, but there's a love and understanding that, hey, they're doing their thing, and that's cool.
How does it feel for you when you see one of the kids go to that place of compassion and forgiveness for themselves or for their parents or for whatever the experience is, and you see that the parents do that with the kids as well? What's that like for you?
Oh, it's just the best feeling. It's one of those things that I just can't put into words. Especially the march out parade on the final day, to see the reconnection, and even if it's just for that moment in time, just complete another like love and like connection between a parent and a child. It's like priceless. We're up to JLP 30 junior leader program, 33 next. 33 march out parades have been to, and each one has been just as powerful. The first one just as powerful as the last one. There's just that energy around them, just letting stories go for a moment and just really honoring and acknowledging the human life in front of them, like the human being, the beingness of them. Just it's so proud. Like I get so proud, and it's so cool. Like we're helping these kids. Like I said, like there's 2,000 kids. We're helping the families. We're doing, that part to it. But the other part is like the veterans as well in this community. Glenn, Matt, and I are now the three, founders and directors of the company. And, we've all done a lot of healing on ourselves, and we've kind of put ourselves in, we've done a lot of healing. So we're kind of also leading the example there around the mentors on like, hey, time to let some of those stories go from the army. If they want, we're not forcing anyone to do anything, but just kind of reigniting that passion inside of them as well.
Oh, look, I've got this, I never know how these episodes are going to go. I never know where the conversations are going to go. And what's really clear for me here is that the level of forgiveness and compassion that you've gone to, and you have every right from a place of what's the word I'm looking for? Reconciling, your story. You've got every right to be committed to your story of hate and rage. You've got every right, given the story that you've lived, and, to the point where, you almost weren't here. And yet that's not what you did, right? What you did was you went to the depths of compassion and forgiveness in an environment and with people that, you'd have every right from the human story to remain committed to that story. And so what I'm saying around this episode is that we're stirring away the people who are listening to this episode. There's a stirring that's happened, I want to say the chief is stirring, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I will say the chief is stirring, and we'll explain what that means in a minute. But I feel like those who are listening, who are still holding on to stories and are really committed to their stories of blame and judgment and powerlessness and hate and a lack of forgiveness, the chief is really, really calling people home. So I want to now go to this definition that I've given you as the chief on this episode. So I just need to, so we're jumping all over the place. We've been to Afghanistan, we've been to Queensland, and now we're going to Croatia.
Let's go on a journey.
Let's go back to Croatia.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I had the pleasure, such a pleasure to meet Troy in Croatia in September this year, when I facilitated a retreat with the incredible Shari L. And I met Troy through Shari. Shari, I always explain, or I always say she's the grande dame of nonviolent communication in Australia. And you went through all that training, and now you're working alongside Shari. I remember at breakfast one morning. Do you remember when we were at Lophodia on Lopet Island, which is off Dubrovnik? And prior to that, you were speaking to peace, right? Because this is what you've learned. Well, I know that you've learned it through nonviolent communication, and I'm sure you've learned it through your beautiful wife, Beck, and also the other support that you've had. And when I was with you and feeling you being all about peace, it felt like there was something missing. Like I felt that was true, but I felt like there was something missing. And even in this interview, and I'm hearing about I'm going to swear because that's just how I can express the depth of your conviction. Like you've got fucking conviction around loving self and loving each other and really living this life to the fullest and the most joyful possible. Because as you said, your mate that passed away, that died, like he did that so that you could live. And I feel like you did Afghanistan in all the experiences that you did and had so that the people who are in your presence can live fully. And at breakfast that morning, I said, there's something missing when we talk about, peace. There's something missing. And then I said, I know what the missing piece is. It's the warrior. Because the warrior is still like, okay, you left Afghanistan and you left the fighting, and then you came to peace and you became about that, but there's still the warrior in you. I mean, the warrior's been in this whole conversation today, and we talked about being the peaceful warrior. And then we're sitting, and I don't know if I've got it all in sequence, but it doesn't really matter. And then we're sitting in workshop, and you say, I actually remember where it was. It was at Lophodia this particular time. And you said, I don't know, I feel like fucking sounding something out. I just feel like fucking making sound. I said, okay. So do you want to say what happened then?
I'm pretty sure I said this to you. Like I had the feeling during whatever we were doing in the workshop. But I'm sure I said it to it in a break. I was like, I just kind of felt like making some sounds, and I don't know why I said it to you. Well, obviously because that's what I was feeling, but I was, a little bit nervous or whatever. And I'm pretty sure you said, "Well, how about you do it like now?" I was like, "Oh, no, I'm extra nervous." Yeah, but everyone was down for it, so we jumped back in the workshop again, and I just felt this energy come up in my body around my throat and my heart, and my hands were sweaty, and it just started. It was like I was getting this strong signal to make some noise. Yeah, and then so I did, and just tuned into the energy. Like I just felt like with my imagination, just sort of, felt the energy of it, and that's where the next noise came from. I just started making these noises, and we went on a little bit of a journey, and I kind of let go of the story actually of like, am I going to sound shit, or is this the right thing to do? All of that. Once I started making the noise, all of that just sort of noise dissipated, all that fear sort of dissipated and just sort of felt. And as I kept going, the energy from that was just like getting amplified inside of me too. Like it was just like more free, more free, more free, and it just kind of moved. It's like I'm calling out to others as well. So it's like I'm in one aspect I'm calling to myself to allow, and then the other part of it is like this allowing other people to do the same. Like it's just that's all it is for me, is just like calling other people out to come and join me. Yeah, that's all it is. That's what I'm feeling is, and I can kind of feel it again around like my upper heart area.
Yeah, so it's a beyond the mind feeling experience, isn't it?
And yeah, and each time I do it is kind of slightly different, and yeah, just whatever's in the moment. Yeah.
So shall we?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of rude not to. I think if people
I think so. Just be leaving them hanging.
We're like, we've been fucking waiting all this time.
Exactly.
Talking.
So I just say, just to the listeners, you know, yeah, if you are in a place where you can close your eyes, that would be a really great thing to do. And if you're not, that's cool. You can come back to it and you can still listen to it now with your eyes open, doing whatever you're doing. Thank you, Troy. You go deep. You go deep, deep, deep. Thank you so much. Bring tears to my eyes. Smile on your face.
Yeah.
There's the joy.
I guess what it was.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So I feel like we're complete.
Yeah.
Is there something that you feel to say?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like looking forward to what unfolds to me in the future. And I don't know, maybe if there's people listening that wanted some help with toning, or maybe some of the things that I could offer, like I don't know where this leads, but just following the breadcrumbs. And if you wanted to have a conversation with me, then I'm lovely to talk to at some point.
Well, let me beef that up a bit, because
Yeah, ramp it up, Giselle.
yeah, because as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, like I always see things, right? That's just I can't help but not see things. And there is a lot of anger and rage and hate in the world. There's a lot of it, right? There's a lot of the opposite of forgiveness. There's a lot of holding on and misunderstanding and lack of freedom and wanting to escape, just like you did, and masking it all up. There's a lot of powerful people underneath all of that. A lot of powerful people underneath all that. And it doesn't mean that these people have been to Afghanistan. They might be there in their own Afghanistan, in their world, whether it be in their relationship with their family, with their partner. It might be with a relationship, not might be, it is relationship. It is their relationship with themselves. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that they need to have gone to Afghanistan to feel the feelings that you felt. What's really obvious to me is that you're here to support those people to be free of that. Doesn't mean that you don't have the feelings. I mean, you've had a lot of emotion here in our conversation, but you're free and you're in your joy and you're living fully, and your commitment is to continue to live fully in whatever expression that is. And you're doing amazing, amazing, amazing work with the kids and their families. 2,000 families you've touched. I feel like that there are grown adults who need your support. It's about helping those people who are in their own internal war be free and living a life that they feel is one of purpose. That's who you're here for. The little kids, not the little kids, because I know they're not little, but the teenagers and the adults. That's who you're here for. And you've got the capacity, because you're so strong, you've got the warrior in you. You got the capacity to hold them no matter what the story is. Like, there's no story that they could tell you that you would go, fuck off. There's no story that they could tell you where you would not hold them in that place of forgiveness and compassion that we saw here. That's who you're here for. That's who you're here for. So if there are people listening who are in their own internal wars, I'm going to put Troy's details in the show notes. If there are people that you know who are in their internal wars and you feel that Troy's their person, Troy's a nonviolent communication expert. He's got the training and he's got the life experience. You can't get anything more qualified than that. So if you know people who are in their internal wars and you feel that would resonate with Troy, please reach out. You know, I remember about 1.5 years ago, a former client who I worked with in 2014 wrote to me, and she said to me, my brother-in-law's in a really, really bad place, in a really, really bad way. And you came to me, Giselle, in my intuition overnight to reach out, but I don't know if you would actually work with him. I said, of course I would. So it's that if you feel that there are people that you know, this is to the listeners, if you feel that there are people that you know that are really, really in a bad way, Troy may be their man. Details in the show notes. And finally, I want to say thank you to Troy, because that was a big, that's a big experience to share visually. First of all, I saw a video, and to speak to that video and to speak to that life in Afghanistan and to speak to your life post-Afghanistan, like that's big. That's really, really, really big. And you're so right in that you spoke about in veteran mentors, you don't do anything that you don't ask the kids to do. You do it yourself. And you really are leading from a place of integrity, like the vulnerability that you allow yourself to be, that is integrity on legs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that gives permission. I'm talking about the big people, the adults. That's who I feel like are coming to you. It gives them permission that if they fall apart with emotion, that their life isn't going to end. And it's going to be okay to feel those feelings, just like you did. You gave me a gift in Croatia. We were in Split on that terrace. So we were facilitating this workshop from a terrace of this hotel that we were staying in. It was the most incredible, spectacular place to facilitate from. We're outdoors and the weather was amazing. And then what didn't work so well was that there was an elevator that had other guests come up. Now, most of the time you would think if guests came up and they saw that when we were at workshop, and we even said it, like I even said, we're in a personal growth workshop, that they would go down the elevator and leave us alone. But no, there was a particular group of people that came up, and I was really fucked off myself because I was thinking, bloody hell, like they are so disrespectful. They're standing there in the corner laughing their heads off. We've just told them what we're doing. And then I was grateful for you that you went over to them. And I know that you were angry. I couldn't sense that at the time, and had them move on. But then what that catalyzed was I feel emotional just talking about it now. You gave yourself permission to express and to feel the grief and the rage that was still within you. And it was probably the biggest expression of emotion I've seen in that kind of environment. And I felt so honored that you had trust in yourself, first of all, and then trust in us, that you would give yourself the freedom to express so fully, like you were not holding back. It was full on. And that's the space, that's the capacity that you are and have for people who have not expressed their own feelings around their own internal wars. I mean, Troy, this is the thing, right? You saved lives in Afghanistan because you put yourself first. You were the commander. You said you went first. That was your job. You saved lives there. That's what you do here now. Thank God you don't need to be in Afghanistan for that to happen. But that's what you're about. You're the chief and the commander that saves lives.
I just thank you so much for sharing that little moment. I would just like to add a little touch on that. I feel like hospitals are saving lives. I want to bring people the joy and the life that's in them, not just saving them. Like I'm not just giving you oxygen to survive. That's do that in the hospital. If you want that, fucking that's for you. But if you want joy and freedom and happiness, and fucking come to me.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you added that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more to life than just getting through and surviving. So much more. And like I hope we can all find that.
And you know what? I reckon, why did your soul choose to go to Afghanistan and live such a big life over there? Because if you can live what you've just expressed, a fucking joyful, happy, fully lived life, when you have every reason not to have done that based on what you experienced in Afghanistan, then bloody anybody can. Yeah. Yeah. What a powerful loving, generous demonstration of that you are. So thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to throw in one more thing. I want to acknowledge your beautiful wife, Beck.
Yes.
I had the joy of meeting Beck in Croatia, and I know that she was a big part of your healing. And I just wanted to throw that in, and that even kind of not throw that in, that's not right. I wanted to add that and complete this conversation with honoring your gorgeous wife, Beck.
Yeah, she's rock solid in that regard, and I'm deeply honored and grateful to have her with me on this journey as well. 100%, you are correct. She's a massive part into that healing journey. So thank you.
And for the people who haven't seen Troy and Beck, they're a bloody good-looking couple. Far out. All right. On that note, thank you, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
I'm going to end this episode without the usual outro, because what a mammoth episode that was. I shortened 2 hours into 1 hour and 20 minutes. And it is a bloody powerful episode. And the reason why I'm recording this specific outro for you is to invite you to really, really be with what Troy's story has catalyzed for you. Radical forgiveness, radical compassion. The choice not only to survive, but the choice to thrive. The choice to be on purpose because all of your life experiences. I trust that this episode has created major ripples into your life. And thank you for listening for such a long time. It was important for us to share that audio footage of the montage of Afghanistan to get a sense of what Troy's life was like, so that you can get a better sense for the contrast of who he has become. May this episode and Troy's life offer you many, many blessings. Thank you.